Greetings, everyone. Welcome to my sketchbook. As most of you know, every day on the calendar seems to celebrate or recognize something. Uh, for example, today is Blueberry Pie Day. It's also the day of mourning for workers who would have lost their lives or were injured on the job. And so it's meant to promote um, workplace safety. It's also the day of superheroes. And so I sat at my desk here and I was thinking, well, what's something that I would draw that would be related to superheroes? So I was thinking of like a mashup of Superman and the Hulk or something like that. But then I thought of something and I went looking through my record collection for something very specific, which was this. And this is kind of like a single. It's a two-sided single. Side one is a sort of like a spoken word poetry to a country music backing track, and then the side B is uh, the instrumental. And I think this is pretty interesting. A lot of people were moved by Terry Fox, and he's very much considered a national hero. Um, to not just me, but to many Canadians, actually all around the world. And so I think that's going to be today's drawing. Now, I did spend a little bit of time watching some clips, and yeah, so let's see what we can come up with. So I'm going to use this pen. I have here this bottle of ink, which is Parker Royal Blue. Royal, as it's actually designated by the Queen of England, who'd passed away a little bit ago, but she favored Parker pens and ink. And so, yeah, I'm going to try to use this. It's pretty blue. So I'm going to ramble on a little bit about Terry Fox and see what I can sort of pop out of memory. So I'm going to start off by writing today's date. We shall say that it is National Superhero Day. My goodness. So, something that I focused on when I was watching the video, it was on like the CBC, was that he was wearing a pair of shoes. So, when he started his run, actually, he was insistent on finding sponsors that were not looking to do anything for themselves, that this was all to go towards cancer research. So in 1977, which seems like, a little while ago, I guess, he had lost his leg to bone cancer, his right leg, and it was taken just above his knee. Actually, during that time period, he would have met Rick Hansen, who's another Canadian superhero as well. Uh, at that point, Rick Hansen, who's about a year older than Terry Fox, he would have had a spinal cord injury and he was moving around in a wheelchair. I believe in his case, he had fallen out of a truck. Like he was riding around in the back of a pickup truck, which a lot of us kids kind of did because, we were kind of careless back in the day. Um, but yeah, had invited Terry to play wheelchair basketball. So they would have met then in the summer of 1977. Terry was a pretty athletic guy. Uh, but Terry got this idea. So he wanted to raise money for cancer research. And he wanted to run across Canada. And, well, he never got to finish that journey. You see, well, he started off in Newfoundland. And by the way, this isn't going to look exactly like Terry's shoe. I'm kind of drawing this from memory after watching the video clip. But I do know a little bit about this shoe. These were named the Orion from Adidas. And I remember last summer I was thinking about getting a pair of them. But I decided after a little bit of thought that, well, maybe I didn't want to have them because what I would end up doing is I would buy, a pair of shoes in my own size because I like things to be usable. And yeah, I mean, I'd wear them. And after they wore out, and my mind would be like, well, what would I do with these? Would I keep them, like just set them on a shelf? Or maybe I'd never wear them. Like, I don't know if I need to have a usable thing as a shrine. So anyway, I didn't get a pair. And I might have talked a little bit about how they put Terry on a $1 coin. That would have been like a little more than 20 years ago. And maybe part of the vision for that could have been like if you found a Terry on a loonie, that perhaps you would send it to Terry Fox or the Terry Fox Foundation. If that was the initiative, that would have been pretty awesome if they would have done something like that. But I don't believe that was promoted that way. Looking back, I think maybe if that was, maybe that would be kind of a pretty neat thing. The idea that he had was to raise $1 at least from every Canadian. So he actually wanted to raise, at that point, somewhere around $24 million for cancer research. He started his run in April of 1980, and he kind of like hobbled along. Very unique sort of running style, which was kind of developed on the fly. The prosthetic that he wore on for his right leg had a spring mechanism that needed to be reset after every set, or after every step, I should say. Reset after every set. That sounds funny. So he kind of did it like a flicking motion of sorts in order to reset that mechanism. Well, and this isn't going to look exactly like his prosthetic leg. I did look at it for a moment or so while he was doing his interview. Um, well, he didn't make it. And as he got closer to Thunder Bay, he was getting really sick. And so, like a lot of athletes, uh, they develop sort of like a larger heart. Just from use. I mean, like your heart, like any other muscle in your body, can grow. And with Terry, well, they didn't think it was going to be that big of a deal, that his heart would be so big. Well, he discovered something. I mean, other than running in pain every day, uh, the remainder of his leg, the stump, was in terrible shape, just from the constant uh, pressure on his leg, his whole body actually. I mean, it wasn't going super great, but when he went to the hospital to get checked out, he also discovered that his cancer had returned. And he was pretty insistent that he was going to finish his marathon of hope. And there were other people that were perhaps going to step in, so to speak, and finish this for him while he was still alive. And he truly believed he was going to get better. He never did. So when he passed, I guess well, a few people were inspired by him, of course, and I think it was like maybe 1984. A fellow by the name of Steve Fogno started a run kind of in honor of Terry. Um, I'm trying to remember what that was called. It was like the journey to life, or I'll think of it in a moment. But it was just meant to follow kind of like a similar path that Terry would have taken. So he started off in Newfoundland as well, dipped his leg in the ocean. He actually had the same type of cancer that Terry had. So it was a bone cancer, and he lost his leg the same sort of way. Steve was a little bit different. Steve ended up kind of being a very troubled individual. And like Terry, I think he was also a companion, or made a companion of the Order of Canada, which was later rescinded, as they like to say, just because he was a member in poor standing. Steve finished the run, and he did raise money, and I think he eventually ran across the United Kingdom as well. A few years after Steve Fogno, the fellow who met with Terry Fox, Rick Henson, started his Man in Motion world tour, actually, where he used his wheelchair to move all over North America and Europe and Asia. And, you know, he was determined to show people that somebody that, you know, like him, was not really disabled, but he wanted the world to be a little bit more accessible to people with varying needs. And Rick Henson, also a remarkable hero as well. Uh, he actually got his spinal cord injury from falling out of a pickup truck. So, but going back to Terry, um, I think a lot of us in school, and even to this day, a lot of students participate in a run in Terry's honor, which is also still raising money to this day. I believe they've raised more than $1 billion for cancer research through the Terry Fox Foundation. So, pretty remarkable. And so, yeah, no, that's going to be the national superhero that I've chosen for the day is Terry Fox. So let's try to remember him. It's a remarkable legacy, I think. He would have been 22 when he had passed. He developed pneumonia, in a lot of ways attributed to his heart. And even though, yes, the cancer had returned, yeah, you could say that in some ways it was his big heart that took him from us. Pretty remarkable guy. Well, that's kind of what I could come up with. I know this doesn't look exactly like Terry's prosthetic leg, but the shoe I remember, the Adidas Orion, which is kind of funny. And here's more rambling, I suppose. I mean, we all remember the Artemis mission, Artemis 2, where they sent astronauts to space to fly around the moon. That rocket ship was the Orion, built by Lockheed Martin. Um, so yeah, that's just kind of funny. Beginning of the month, that's how that month, this month, started off with the Orion. Here's more rambling that just sort of popped into my head. Thinking of Rick Hansen, he there was a song that was written in honor of his Man in Motion world tour, that was on the movie soundtrack St. Elmo's Fire. And that movie had a few members of the Brat Pack. My understanding is the Brat Pack was made up of young, influential actors at that time. So, you know, some of those would be like Judd Nelson and Rob Lowe, Demi Moore. I think they were actually in that movie, St. Elmo's Fire. But like The Breakfast Club, like John Hughes movies, Molly Ringwald. She wasn't in St. Elmo's Fire, but anyway, rambling. So yeah, Terry Fox. All right, well, I mean, I rambled on. I don't follow a script. I just sort of yeah. So Terry Fox, April 28th, National Superhero Day. I think there's probably no better candidate for that. So I hope you have a great day. Hopefully we'll see you again. Ciao for now.